Millions of Americans board buses every day that carry no seatbelts, not by accident but by deliberate federal regulation. In 1977, Standard 222 exempted large buses, betting that vehicle mass and compartmentalized seating would outperform restraints. Statistically, it worked. School buses became 70 times safer per mile than a passenger car. Then in 2018, the safety board that had defended this design for decades quietly reversed its position. On April 1, 1977, federal regulators changed the blueprint for every large school bus in America. Federal Motor Vehicle Safety, Standard 222 or FMVSS 222, set a clear rule. Any school bus weighing more than 10,000 pounds was exempt from seatbelt requirements if it followed the new compartmentalization provisions. The regulation spelled it out directly. A school bus with a GVWR greater than 10,000 pounds shall be exempt from the seatbelt requirement of this standard if the bus complies with the compartmentalization provisions. This was not an oversight or a gap in the law. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, known as NHTSA, made this choice after years of technical analysis, crash tests, and debate among engineers, manufacturers, and safety experts. The agency faced a growing fleet of school buses and mounting calls for a national safety standard. Instead of requiring belts for every seat, NHTSA adopted a different philosophy: treat the bus interior as a series of protective compartments. Compartmentalization reimagined the school bus as a set of padded, closely spaced seats, each forming a protective shell. The analogy often used is eggs in a carton, each passenger shielded by the high, energy-absorbing seat in front and behind. This system works passively. Riders do not need to buckle up or adjust anything. The safety comes from the design. Seatbacks must reach a minimum height, padding must absorb a set amount of energy, and seats must be anchored to withstand a collision. The regulation's language is precise, laying out the minimums for seat height, padding, spacing, and strength. The exemption applied only to large buses, those over 10,000 pounds. Smaller buses still required lap or lap shoulder belts. NHTSA's own crash data and technical bulletins from the 1970s supported this approach. Their engineers found that, given the sheer mass of a loaded school bus, often topping 25,000 pounds, crash forces spread out more gradually, reducing the risk of severe injury. Compartmentalization, they argued, offered protection equal to or better than the seatbelt technology available at the time. This legal and engineering foundation explains why most large school buses still lack seatbelts. The absence is not a shortcut, but a deliberate policy written into law that treats the entire seating area as a passive safety system. A fully loaded city bus tips the scale at anywhere from 25,000 to 40,000 pounds, nearly 10 times the mass of a standard passenger car. This sheer bulk is not just a matter of size. It fundamentally changes the physics of a crash. When a collision happens, the bus's massive structure absorbs and spreads out the energy of the impact. Instead of all that force being concentrated on a single seat or a single body, it's distributed across the whole frame and the closely packed, padded seats. Engineers call this crush distance. On a bus, the front end can deform 20 inches or more before the passenger space is reached. That extra distance gives the bus time to slow down more gradually, lowering the G-forces passengers feel. In a typical car, the crush zone is much shorter, and deceleration happens fast, often spiking above 20 Gs in a severe crash. In a bus, the deceleration is usually less than half that, thanks to both the longer crush zone and the bus's inertia. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has put these ideas to the test. In crash simulations and real-world studies, NHTSA found that the compartmentalization system, high, energy-absorbing seatbacks, precisely spaced, works with the bus's mass to shield passengers. The numbers are striking. Between 2011 and 2020, only 60 out of 1,125 school transportation-related deaths in the U.S. were bus occupants. The overwhelming majority, more than 94%, involved people outside the bus, such as pedestrians and other drivers. When measured by passenger miles, the difference is even starker. School buses average about 0.03 deaths per 100 million passenger miles, compared to 2.3 for passenger cars. That's where the 70 times safer figure comes from. It's not just a slogan, it's a direct result of physics and engineering design. This safety record isn't just theoretical. Large buses are engineered to meet strict federal standards for seat strength, anchorage, and energy absorption. Each seat must withstand a 15,000-pound load without pulling free, and the spacing is set to minimize the risk of one passenger injuring another in a crash. The result is a passive safety system that, for most crash types, rivals or exceeds the protection offered by seatbelts in smaller vehicles. The combination of bus mass, energy-absorbing interiors, and long crush distances creates a protective environment that has kept fatality rates exceptionally low for decades. Installing seatbelts on every large school bus in the United States comes with a steep price tag. Outfitting a new bus with factory-installed 3-point lap and shoulder belts costs around $19,000 per vehicle. With a national fleet of approximately 500,000 school buses, the total bill for a universal upgrade reaches $9.5 billion. For many school districts, this number isn't just a statistic, it's a budgetary wall. Most districts replace only a fraction of their fleet each year, and even a modest rollout stretches local budgets already strained by staffing, maintenance, and rising fuel costs. The difference between a basic bus and a fully belted one isn't limited to hardware. The higher cost includes reinforced seat frames, certified anchorage points, and crash testing to meet federal standards. Some retrofit kits advertise lower per-bus prices, but these often exclude the structural upgrades required for full compliance, and installation can sideline a vehicle for days. For administrators, the choice is stark. Invest in belts for a few new buses, or preserve funding for drivers, routes, and other safety programs. This financial reality shapes the pace and scope of seatbelt adoption across the country. In June 2018, the National Transportation Safety Board issued a formal recommendation calling for 3-point lap and shoulder seatbelts on all new large school buses. This marked a clear break from decades of federal endorsement for compartmentalization alone. The NTSB cited new crash investigations and simulation data showing a 30 evacuation is a critical part of bus safety design, and it presents a technical dilemma when considering seatbelt installation. Federal studies by the National Transportation Safety Board have found that unbuckling a seatbelt adds an average of 3 seconds per passenger to evacuation time. In a packed bus, those seconds multiply quickly, especially in emergencies like fire or submersion. The 2016 Chattanooga school bus crash brought this issue into sharp focus. During the collision, the absence of seatbelts meant children were thrown forward. But investigators also noted that rapid evacuation was possible for survivors because no one was restrained. The National Transportation Safety Board has since analyzed evacuation scenarios, finding that even a short delay can make the difference between life and death when exits are blocked or time is limited. Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards 220 and 221, which address bus body strength and joint integrity, require that exits remain operable after a crash, but do not mandate seatbelt use for city or transit buses. In fact, city transit buses remain broadly exempt from any federal seatbelt requirement. This exemption is rooted in the need for frequent boarding and rapid egress in crowded urban settings, where adding restraints could hinder evacuation and complicate operations. The question remains: How do you balance the proven benefits of seatbelts in some scenarios against the urgent need for time-critical evacuation in others? The debate over seatbelts on large buses is not only about crash protection, but also about the practical realities of moving dozens of people to safety in seconds. Federal standards still exempt city transit buses from seatbelt mandates, prioritizing compartmentalization and mass over restraints. As new data and NTSB recommendations push policy debates, the evidence remains contested. The question now, will future regulations adapt as urban transit evolves or remain anchored in 1977 logic? Share your perspective below.